5 tips to attract the best tenants.
The reality is as a landlord with a property, you're about to enter into a love triangle. You know, you've got your property, you've got yourself, and then you've got your tenant. And all three have to mesh in order to have a really great relationship. And this is probably the most neglected thing that we see on Rent Panda, on Facebook Marketplace, on Kijiji, is really people just putting
What's going on YouTube? It's Rebecca Lynn Matheson here, aka the Canadian Cottage Girl, and I am joined by a very special guest. We have Hart, who is the co-founder of Rent Panda. Rent Panda is a rental platform where landlords can find the tools that they need and the resources to go from listing to lease. So Hart, first of all, welcome to the Canadian Real Estate Channel.
Thank you for having me back. Excited to be here. Very bright and early in the morning and ready to talk about rentals.
I love it. Awesome, man. Well, first of all, guys, anyone who's tuning in today, I want to make sure that you smash the like button at the start of this video. Also, throw some love into the comment section below, and make sure that if you're not already, that you subscribe to the Canadian Real Estate Channel and turn on the notification bell so that you don't miss any of our videos. So, Hart, welcome to the channel. I know today's topic is a good, juicy one. So we're going to be going over the 5 tips to attract the best tenants. So let's start with number 1.
Awesome. So these will be 5 quick tips, lots more to read about and study up about if you are a landlord. But tip number 1 is really to think about attracting your ideal tenant. And the number 1 mistake that I'll say before we jump into the tip is landlords thinking about who they want in their property versus thinking about what type of tenant their property will attract. So you're an investor, you've bought a property, and the reality is that property is going to attract a certain type of person. You may have bought a 3-bedroom townhome that's typical to attract a small young family. Maybe you bought or turned a duplex into a duplex, and you've got the basement for rent, and it's great for young professionals or students. And that's the reality that you have to face first and foremost, is identifying what tenant will be attracted to your property. And once you identify that, if it is students, if it is a young family, if it is young professionals, then you can get into identifying what type of landlord you want to be for that tenant. Are you a hands-off landlord that really wants that tenant who can, change light bulbs, fix minor things around the house, will do the snow and lawn care? Or are you the type of landlord that wants to control everything and you want to come in to change every light bulb, to do every bit of repair, or to have all your trades come in? And really, those are the 2 decisions. Do you want to be super hands-on or super hands-off? And what type of tenant will be attracted to your property? And that's the first question to ask yourself, and really the first key tip that we have for all the landlords out there when they've got that great asset.
Yeah, I love that. So identifying your ideal tenant profile, it's very important just to understand what your why is, as you said, depending on if you want to be hands-on or hands-off, and just aligning the tenant profile with that goal.
Yeah, exactly. And really throughout the process, every time you turn over a place, every time a new tenant is likely to come into your place, you need to keep asking yourself that question, because the neighborhood may have shifted, the market may have shifted, your price range will have shifted. So continue to ask yourself at every vacancy, who is the ideal tenant for your place?
Got it. All right, number 2.
Number 2 is invest in rental photography and videography. And this is one that a lot of landlords will skimp out on. They've got a beautiful property, they've got it painted, they've got all the repairs done. They come in and they do a move-out inspection with the previous tenant, and they pick up their phone and they just start snapping quick pictures all around the place. And iPhone photography or Android photography is not bad, but you need to be able to invest in good photography, because good photos and good videos will not only attract the right tenant, but it'll also save you a ton of time. And so 4 quick tips to do, whether you've got a DSLR or you've got an iPhone, is tip number 1 is open all the blinds and get as much light into the place as possible. Even if it's a basement unit, put some cool lights in LEDs, stay away from super warm lighting, but get as much light into that property as you can. It'll make it feel bright and welcoming and inviting. And really, in great photos, as you see from professional real estate photos, there's never too much light. Get rid of all of those shadows. The second one is shoot horizontally. And this may be a stupid tip, but most people hold their phones like this and just turning your phone sideways will get a really nice wide angle view of your room. And so just turn that phone sideways. And then you want to back up. So tip number 3 is get the widest angle possible with that horizontal shot. And so you want to back up into corners, back up against the wall. If you have an outdoor door like I do here, step outside and actually shoot the room from outside, but don't get that door frame in view, but really move back in the space as much as humanly possible. If you have to sit on the toilet, get into the shower, step into a closet, you got to do whatever you need to do to get the widest angle possible so that the rooms don't feel cramped and narrow. And that's especially the case with small bathrooms or small bedrooms in rentals. You really want to get that wide angle. And then the last tip is to shoot from chest height. And so most people instinctively will shoot from eyeball height. And what you want to do, again, turn that phone sideways, but shoot from chest height. And shooting from chest height will really enable that natural view. And if you look at a photo from eyeball height, it usually feels quite downward, which makes a room feel narrow and smaller and longer than it actually is. So shooting from a chest height will, again, give you that wide angle view if you're backed up as far as possible with great natural light. The other thing that you want to do is take some videos. So once you've got great photos, people sometimes have trouble getting a sense of the space and how rooms connect with each other and how hallways look and even how a room will feel in 360. And so you don't need to invest in a 360 camera, although you can do that or hire a professional to do that. But just getting a quick walkthrough video of a place will really help give that ideal tenant a sense of the space, but also help you cut down on showings. And so when you're messaging someone, which we'll talk about in a second, sending them that walkthrough video, even if it can't be uploaded to a profile or uploaded to a site that you're posting on, just send them that video, whether it's by email or Facebook Messenger, and get them to look at it and get them to comment on it when you're doing your messaging. And really, that will help eliminate a lot of tire kickers who may not have a sense of the space and are just coming for a showing to see the place. And that will really help you streamline your process, save you a ton of time. And it only takes a minute or two to shoot a quick walkthrough video. You don't have to be a professional, just shoot it, upload it, and have it there at your disposal.
Love that. Okay, number 3.
Number 3 is all about writing a good ad. And this is probably the most neglected thing that we see on Rent Panda, on Facebook Marketplace, on Kijiji, is really people just putting, call me here, or I have this great place, inquire below. And writing a good rental ad not only shows that you're a landlord that cares about their property, but it's a really great way to sell the property without going into a long-winded explanation of, all of the details of the place. The reality is people are going to come to showings, and the rental ad is really meant to hook them in. And so there's a formula that you should follow when writing a rental ad. And the first thing is focus on the most unique feature of the place, the thing that will really get that ideal tenant to come through the door. And so, for instance, if you're in a city like Guelph, let's say, which is a big pet city, and you're looking for young professionals to come into your 2-bedroom condo, and maybe you're open to pets, you want to put that your place is pet friendly, big and bold, and the first thing that you want up there, because not all places are pet friendly. In fact, the majority of places will advertise no pets. And if your place is pet friendly, take that unique identifier and push it as hard as you can. If you have beautiful views of downtown Toronto, push that, as long as your ideal tenant will be gravitating towards that. So if you're attracting young families, talk about all of the great parks in the neighborhood that the kids can play at, or the great school that your place is down the road from. Really talk about the first unique identifier and make that the center of your ad. Once you've talked about that unique identifier, then you go into some adjectives. And most people, and if you see a lot of rental ads or even real estate ads, you'll see a lot of adjectives be putting in there. And it's about, this place is cozy and friendly and warm and inviting and great light. And there's tons of identifiers, and they all just blend into a wash of nothing. And so we say choose 2 and stick with those 2. So if you have a cozy, pet-friendly place, those are your 2 that you should talk about. If you have a warm and inviting place, those are the 2 that you should talk about. If you have a place that is close to schools and great access to parks or walking trails, those are the 2 that you want to focus on. And don't go crazy focusing on a ton. Then once you've got your unique identifier, you've got your 2 adjectives, then you go into all of the nitty gritty, right? How many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, how much of utilities are going to be covered? Is laundry in the unit or in the building or whatnot? Then you go into all of those identifiers. And then you really want to sum up with telling a bit about yourself and what you're looking for as a landlord. And it's something that most people refrain from doing because they feel like it's an impersonal experience and it's all about the asset. But the reality is as a landlord with a property, you're about to enter into a love triangle. You've got your property, you've got yourself, and then you've got your tenant. And all three have to mesh in order to have a really great relationship. So make sure you tell the tenant or the prospective tenant a little bit about yourself as well as the property in that rental ad. And that'll really make the difference. So again, you want to make sure to choose a unique identifier, to give your two greatest features up there, to give them all the meat and potatoes in little nitty-gritty detail, and then to tell a little bit about yourself, and that'll help people open up about themselves too.
Yeah, these are all fantastic tips. I know I've seen ads that it's just the bare bones, or the ad almost reflects the unit. So I think when you set that initial experience to be very positive, very clean cut, very clear as to what you're going to be experiencing, you almost go through that experience with the rental ad, and then you get to see it physically in person, and it's just a reflection of your actual units. So I think that that's a super important point. So I love that. What's our fourth tip for today?
Yeah, so the fourth tip is a really important one, and it's all about choosing the right platform to post on. And we won't say this super biased as being a marketplace for rentals as Rent Panda, but you really want to choose the platform that's right for you as a landlord, and that's right for your property to attract that ideal tenant. And so depending on where you are in the province or in the country, certain rental platforms are more popular than others. Certain rental platforms attract a different tenant than others. And so what you want to do is identify who your ideal tenant is, what type of property you have, and where the tenants are searching for properties like yours and the ideal tenants like you're trying to search for. And so choosing a property is really about choosing a property that's right for you, your property, and that tenant. And that may be something like Facebook Marketplace and just posting it there. Or if you're the type of landlord that is probably busy, maybe has multiple units, wants to focus on things that aren't just messaging people and constantly responding to messages, choose a platform that enables you to manage your listing in an efficient way. And that may be a platform that allows for syndication to other platforms. So, you can post on Rent Panda, and then it can syndicate out to Facebook Marketplace and Kijiji and aggregate all of those interested people into one platform. And so choose a tool if you're busy that helps streamline your process, that helps save you time. The other thing that you want to do is post where you can actually manage. If you're really uncomfortable with Facebook, don't post on Facebook Marketplace. Choose a platform that you feel comfortable with. And if you just want to direct people to a phone number or an email address, make sure that you can actually share that. So certain platforms restrict the sharing of phone numbers or email addresses, and you have to put a really wonky combination of names and numbers in there. And so make sure that it's the right platform for you, because you will get a lot of messages if your place is looking great and attracting the right tenant and priced properly, like we've talked about in previous videos, and you will get a lot of messages. And then the other thing to keep in mind is make sure that you understand what type of messages are going to be coming in so that you can manage them. And really, I'm talking about the is it still available messages, or can I come see it messages, which we are all going to get. And it's not just on Facebook, but it's ingrained tenant behavior now to just say, click with one button and is it still available? And the reality is if you ignore those messages, which a lot of landlords do, you're losing out on potential tenants who may be good. There's the subset of tenants that will write long paragraphs about their whole life story and not send those is it still available messages. But some good tenants, some really good tenants are sending those messages. And so just make sure that when you're posting on a platform like Facebook Marketplace or any platform and getting those messages in, you have your predetermined message. You can have a Word document and just copy and paste the same message in and ask people, what they're looking for in a place, or just to tell you a little bit about themselves and prompt them to share. And so just know that when you post on a platform, it may be the best platform to attract the right tenant, but there are some natural things that will happen, like getting those messages. And then the last thing to do is to treat your rental as a business when it comes to choosing a platform to post on. And so some platforms cost money. So something like Rentboard is a pay per listing type of platform. Facebook Marketplace, Rent Panda, you can promote your listing. And so make sure that when you post on a platform, you're understanding if there is a payment to be made right off the bat, or setting yourself a budget if you do need to go forward and promote that property, get that property in front of the number of tenants that you want, and really put the odds in your favor. Get it in front of 100 people, get it in front of 1,000 people, get it in front of the most number of people possible in the highest quality possible, so that the greatest tenant comes through your door and you've got an amazing rental experience.
We've been through all four. Now, what is our fifth and final tip for the day?
Awesome. The fifth one, which I just alluded to beforehand and I gave it away, but it's really about setting an advertising budget. And a rental business is that. It's a business, and posting your rental is the first step where you may need to invest some money. Hopefully you've done some repairs and upgrades beforehand. Your place looks great, but advertising your rental is really about choosing that right platform and then setting a budget, even if the platform doesn't have, a pay feature on it. And so you want to make sure that our general rule is take a half month's rent and assume that you're going to spend that half month's rent on that tenant turnover and advertising your property. And so what we generally do is chunk out about 70% towards small repairs and upgrades. And so you maybe have just done a move out inspection and realize that you need a drywall patch and a little bit of paint, or you need a little sink repair, or maybe that outdated light is finally time for a change and you invest $600-700 in some repairs and upgrades. And then you want to take 20% of that half month's rent and put it towards advertising. And this will really help speed up your process. Even if you think you've got the most amazing property yet, and you'll get hundreds of inquiries, setting an advertising budget may set yourself apart from others, may really help bump your post up. And even if you're going to get it rented in 2 weeks, save yourself time by bringing in the best tenants and getting your place in front of the best tenants out there. And so setting 20% of that budget aside for advertising. And if you're not going to spend it on true advertising, spend it on photography, spend it on videography, spend it on virtual staging, spend it on something that will really set you apart. And then you want to allocate the last 10% towards screening. And we'll talk about screening in a later video, but really you want to make sure that you've got some budget set aside for that screening, and that you know beforehand that you're going to have that half month's rent already gone with repairs, with advertising, and then with screening.
Love that. Now, we've done a deep dive into all 5 of these topics, but Hart, can you give me a rundown of the 5 tips to attract the best tenants?
For sure. So number 1 is choose your ideal tenant. Again, that's choosing the right tenant that will be attracted to your place, not just who you want to push out. The second one is invest in photography and videography, invest in yourself and your skills, or invest in a pro. The third is writing a rental ad. So spend the time, see what else is out there, follow a formula, and write a really killer ad to attract that ideal tenant. Number 4 is choosing the right platform to post on. So choose the platform that's right for you, that's right for your property, and where your ideal tenant is searching. And number 5 is setting that budget. Right when that tenancy ends, make sure you've got that budget set aside, take that half month's rent, and assume it's going to be spent on getting the best tenant coming through the door.
Love that. Awesome, Hart. Well, tons of golden nuggets in today's chat. And I know that there are sub tips within each of those tips that if you guys listened to this entire video, you're just going to be able to absorb and apply all of those things. But thank you so much for coming on today, Hart. I know that as a investor and landlord yourself, you have a wealth of experience and background in actually doing these yourself in your own properties too. So this is definitely such great knowledge. You guys can just leverage the knowledge from other people in the industry that have already been through it so that you can really have success in your rental units and make sure that you attract the best tenant. Because at the end of the day, that tenant is going to be with you for a period of time. And once you put that tenant into the unit, it's kind of, there's no turning back there. You've got to make sure that you do all of the work to pre-vet the tenant and get the right person into your unit so that you have a fantastic experience as an investor as well. Well, Hart, do you have any additional points to add here, or where is the best place for people to find you?
For sure. So I'll say the last tip that you mentioned yourself is really to have patience with yourself. If you are new, make sure you take the time to invest in yourself, invest in your skills, talk to a coach, talk to a mentor, read lots of blogs, watch lots of YouTube videos. There is no rush. Ultimately, leaving a place vacant for an extra month is well worth it if you need the time to attract the right tenant. And if it's about, finding out who's in the neighborhood, investing in a little photography course for yourself, all of those things will really pay off in the long run. So have patience with yourself if it's your first time, and seek out all the resources. One of the resources is obviously Rent Panda. So if you go to rentpanda.ca, you can sign up as a landlord for free. You can post a property. We've actually got a tool that will pre-populate your rental listing for you so that you don't have to follow the formula yourself. Our augmented system will do that for you. You can upload all of your photos. You can set your advertising budget. You can do a lot of the things that we talked about quite easily on Rent Panda. And so just go to rentpanda.ca, click I'm a landlord, and get started. And the other thing is we're always here. We're real people behind a brand. Not to say anything bad about any other brands, but we are real people. We are landlords in Ontario with experience. And so we're always here for a phone call. So if you have any trouble with Rent Panda, if you have any trouble as a landlord, you can always call us and just pick our brains. We're always happy to help.
Awesome. Well, Hart, thanks again for joining us on the Canadian Real Estate channel here. And guys, make sure that if you aren't already, that you subscribe to the channel down below. Throw some comments into the comment section below if there's any tips and tricks that you want to share as a landlord or maybe investor yourself, or if you have any questions, make sure you toss them into the comment section below as well. And smash that like button, give us a little bit of love, and we'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks again for tuning in, and Hart, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.